In other words, the Prophet ﷺ has to demonstrate the highest character for guidance to happen. Guidance does not just happen from a message, it happens when the message and the messenger both are ideal. The message is already ideal, and now the messenger is ideal. Let me give you a worldly example to help you understand that. Politicians can give really good speeches, but if they have a bad track record, if people know that they've been corrupt before, does the good speech mean anything? It doesn't. It doesn't mean anything. Because their actions, especially those caught on film, are louder than words. So no matter what they say, it doesn't count anymore. You know, the Prophets ﷺ have lived an entire life of credibility, right? So that has to be part of the guidance. If the messenger doesn't have credibility, then the message itself doesn't have credibility, even if it's from Allah. Now, let's move forward. The Prophet is still being spoken to. Allah says, لِتُنذِرَ قَوْمًا مَا أُنذِرَ آبَاؤُهُم. Why did I send this incredible revelation to the ultimate authority, the all-merciful, from the all-merciful? Why did He send it to you, sallallahu alaihi wasallam? He says, so you can warn a nation whose ancestors were not warned, and therefore they are completely clueless. I'll translate it again. لِتُنذِرَ قَوْمًا مَا أُنذِرَ آبَاؤُهُم فَهُمْ غَافِلُونَ. So you could warn a nation whose ancestors were not warned at all, therefore they are completely clueless, completely heedless, just totally unaware. That's why you were given this revelation. Okay. Inside this ayah, the first thing to note is that if you've been sent to warn, think about the word warning outside of religion. When do you get a warning? There's a storm coming. You guys know about those. Houston. The storm coming. The radio tells you a warning. Television tells you a warning. Your phone alerts go off, etc., etc. Yes? Warnings have to come from authoritative, reliable sources. Yes or no? It has to come from a source that has authority and a source you'll respect. Is there a word like that we already covered? Aziz. If you have been sent to warn, you better be sent to warn by someone who can actually, in a valid way, warn or send the warning, and that is Al-Aziz. You understand? So it's actually tied to the word. This is a flow. Now the second thing to note here. We are in this hall. Imagine there's no internet connection, there is no cell connection, etc. So you can't use Facebook like that person's using over there. You can't do any of it, okay? If there was something happening outside, if there was some big news event outside, would you know? No. You wouldn't know. You cannot be warned unless the warning comes from the outside. Is that clear? If you're sitting in your basement, we don't have basements in Texas. If you're sitting in your media room, playing a video game and you don't know what's going on outside, then you cannot be warned unless someone comes into the room. The Prophet ﷺ lives among them, yes or no? Lives among them. And now he's about to give them a warning. But by definition, a warning has to come from outside. So they're going to question, where did the warning come from? The warning came from above. That's already been established. Where? Tanzeel al-Aziz al-Rahim. That's why the warning. Otherwise you can't warn. If you're living in the same living room, you're sitting in the same living room, hey, by the way, you can't warn. Where did you get this news from? You don't even have a phone. Now the second thing, or the third thing rather. Why do you warn someone? Hey, don't go on that road. Hey, stay home. Hey, don't do this. Why do you warn someone? Yeah, one of the most primary considerations for warning someone is you're concerned about them. You care about them. You love them. You don't want harm to come to them. And actually, that's the name of Allah, Ar-Rahim, the one who cares for you and wants to show you mercy, wants to avoid harm for you. The reason that you have been sent, the reason the Prophet ﷺ has been sent, to warn, because warning itself is an act of Allah's mercy. You know, some people complain, why does the Quran talk about hellfire? And I say, maybe we're not thinking about this clear enough. If somebody warned you about a storm or a flood, why are you talking about a flood? Floods are so bad. I'm in such a bad mood because you told me about a flood. Never talk to me again. I don't like talking to you. Like, you're gonna die. Whether you like it or not, it's coming. Why not appreciate the act of love that somebody is actually what? Warning you. Why does he have to spell it out? Why can't he just say, something bad's gonna happen? If there's a tsunami coming and you tell someone, something bad's gonna happen, are you gonna take it seriously? It has to be spelled out. And that's an act of Allah's love. لِتُنذِرَ قَوْمًا. Now, this I absolutely love. Oh my God. You know, when we started the surah, we said, وَالْقُرْآنِ الْحَكِيمِ, and the Qur'an, full of wisdom. The Qur'an that is well knit. The Qur'an that has verdicts. It's a the, not a. It's a the. As though the Qur'an is well known in Arab society now. The Qurayshis know about it. They've heard it enough. So when you say the, they know exactly what. They're not just thinking any recital, they're thinking that recital. It's known. And which nation was the Prophet sent to, sallallahu alaihi wasallam? He was sent to the Quraysh. But the Quraysh, and we all know that they're known people. They're very famous people. But look at how Allah talks about them in this ayah. He insults them from His position of authority. He said, you came to warn some nation. He doesn't say the nation. He says, some nation, qawman, some nation. The Quraysh are a proud people or no? Yes. That's the first insult already. When you say like this, you know, it's such a muhajama against them, such an attack against them, that you just say qawman. And then, okay, let me describe. And by the way, they were so proud of their ancestry. They used to be, you know, Banu Amir, Banu Hisham. They used to just take pride in their ancestry. And Allah says, some nation, let me tell you about their ancestry. They didn't know anything either. مَا أُنذِرَ آبَاؤُهُمْ. Their ancestors weren't warned either. You people think you're all that? You are nothing. You are insignificant, Allah is telling them. مَا أُنذِرَ آبَاؤُهُمْ. You came to warn just some insignificant nation, even whose ancestors didn't get the blessing of revelation. مَا أُنذِرَ آبَاؤُهُمْ. No wonder, فَهُمْ غَافِلُونَ. They're completely heedless. They're completely clueless. Now let's talk about their cluelessness. I want you to appreciate it. You guys know where Hijaz is, the Arabian desert where the Prophet ﷺ came. Are there other superpowers in the neighborhood? Regions, other neighboring regions? Are there kingdoms and large civilizations in proximity? Yeah, sure. There's the Abyssinians, there's the Persians, which is a massive civilization and an ancient one at that. There's the Roman Empire, right? There are many, many large, very old, very established civilizations. How established are the Arabs at the time? I mean, how many universities do they have? What kind of great history of, libraries and philosophy books do they have, like the Romans, or mythologies like the Greeks or something, or statues or monuments or infrastructure, or massive roadways or coliseums or castles? Nothing. They got nothing. Allah is saying to Quraysh, you are so proud of yourselves. You are so completely clueless. There are nations that are so much bigger than you. Who do you think you are? Why are you so full of yourself? You're nothing. Compared to the scene in the world, you are insignificant. People don't even want to invade you because there's no oil yet. They've left you alone. Can you remember? The Romans don't want them. The Persians don't want them. What are we going to send our soldiers to get barbecued for? Camel doesn't taste that good. They leave it alone. They've left it alone for thousands of years. Every civilization wants to expand its territory, yes or no? So the question arises, why aren't they expanding their territory? Because it just ain't worth it, man. It just ain't worth it. So they left them alone. And you think you're all that? This kind of mentality happens to people when they live in a village or they live in a closed bubble. They become really full of themselves and they think they're all that, not realizing nobody cares about them in the outside world. It can happen inside the boardroom of a masjid. Nobody cares in the outside. I'm the president of the... Nobody cares. Yeah, really, nobody cares at all, ever. Does it happen or no? A friend of mine showed me a video of a man from the untouchable class in India. Hindu, he used to be Hindu, left his religion. He just bashes Hinduism on YouTube. And I'm not here to bash Hinduism. But his whole point was the entire religion was designed to create a class society. And he's at the lowest of the untouchables. And he lives in Northern California now. He's the head of a tech company. He makes millions of dollars. And he's highly, highly accomplished in his career, right? And he says, when I go back to my village, and if I sit on the bus right now, they won't sit next to me. I make more money than the village combined, and they won't sit next to me. I have more of an education than the entire village put together, and they won't sit next to me. Because in their little world, they are the top. In their little insignificant world. That is Quraysh, delusional about their power. This can happen to a mother-in-law. This can happen to a husband. It can. This can happen to parents. This can happen to an older sibling. This can happen to anyone who even has a little bit of power, and that power turns into a drug, and then they think they're on top and nobody can touch them. This is what the reality check Allah is giving Quraysh. You take pride in your ancestry? Yeah, they didn't have a clue either. They weren't warned either. فَهُمْ غَافِلُونَ. Then, not only is that not enough, that you're unaware of the fact that the world moves on and you've stayed in the same place for centuries. The world has advanced and you've stayed exactly where you were. On top of that, you're even so unaware of your own ignorance. You guys don't know anything. You don't know anything. You're an uneducated people. You're being given the gift of a high education from Allah. You have no idea. By the way, when a community has not had education for a long time, it stops valuing education. Right? It doesn't see it as important anymore. Actually, it starts looking down on people that do give an education. And then they get scared of education because they know when you get educated, you change. So now they'd like to keep things ignorant. You know, I highlight these things because this is not just a problem of Quraysh. The Muslims. I don't care about talking about anybody else. We should talk about ourselves. Parts of the Muslim world. Huge parts of the Muslim world. And even ourselves. Completely uneducated on a number of things. And we'd like to keep it that way. Because it's uncomfortable to learn new things and want to change. It's not comfortable. Then what else are they heedless of? The fact that Allah has given them the most merciful human being that ever lived. And the greatest word that ever came catered to them. Custom revealed for Quraysh. We have to learn about Quraysh to learn about the Quran. The book that was for all humanity can only be understood properly when you understand the people it came to, yes? Allah made them the most significant historical group of people to study for the Muslims across continents, across languages, and across civilizations until Judgment Day, and they're in complete denial that they're sitting in the company of Rahmatul lil Alameen. They have no clue who they're denying. They have no appreciation for what they've just received. If they had any idea, if they could just look into the future, just 100 years into the future, if they could look 200 years into the future, if they knew what this Quran did for the world. What did the Quran do for the world? What did Islam do for the world? What did it do in Andalus? What did it do in Damascus? What did it do in Iraq? What did it do in India? What it did for the world? These people have no clue and they're just sitting there going, we don't care. Completely clueless. And the final thing I want to highlight about how clueless they are happens to be about, really, it's an example of cluelessness. Sometimes you don't know who you're talking to. It happens, right? You don't know who you're talking to. And you act kind of stupid, not realizing that you're talking to somebody important. This actually happened one time in one of the gatherings. One of the shuyukh was telling me, his wife is also a teacher. She teaches Islamic studies, very famous, not going to name any names. So he's at Hajj. And one of the people in the group is talking to him. He has no idea who he is. And he says, yeah, this woman, she teaches. She's an Israeli spy. And he's 20 minutes talking about how the Jews are funding her to corrupt the Muslims. And he's talking to her husband. Sometimes you're talking to someone and you have no idea who you're messing with. Does that happen? Sure. When they deny and make fun of or reject the message of the Quran, are they just denying the Prophet? This is a high crime against the ultimate authority, Al-Aziz. There's and the more someone has authority, the more you want to watch it. You guys develop taqwa when you see a cop on the road. You sit you sit like a human. You don't sit like a pendu in a courtroom. You sit like a human because the jury's gonna see you. You're gonna sit properly because you're in this position where you have to show some respect. You see? There's protocol. When you are in the presence of authority and respect, there's protocol. They are in the presence of the word of Al-Aziz. And they have no protocol. Completely clueless who they're messing with. Completely clueless of the power he has to punish. The consequences that this may bring. So this is, فَهُمْ غَافِلُونَ.